Welcome to West of Tulsa. I'm CJ Ward. We are broadcasting from Ventura, California. We're just, mile or two from the beach.
That's right.
Right? I think we all have sunscreen on.
Ventura Tourism giving you a plug there,
They
CJ?
are,
You're getting some sponsorship dollars here?
It's a great town.
As you can tell, almost everybody's here. Helm's not here.
No.
No.
He's too busy gallivanting around with Joe Coy.
Oh, that's what he's doing, huh?
Joe Coy.
Well, he went to the Valley Relics Museum for a private screening, a last-minute private screening for Joe Coy's new comedy special, and he got to hang with Joe Coy. He sent, he took pictures that we posted on our Instagram, but he connected with our good buddy of ours, Tommy Gelinas. I think that's his last name, Gelinas or Gelinas. Starts with a G.
Valley Relics, right?
Valley Relics,
yeah.
Which is pretty incredible.
Yeah, we've known him for a very long time, and he got to connect with him, and we plan to do a show with him because he's also a hot rodder, and he has an amazing collection. If you haven't been to the Valley Relics Museum, I suggest you go. It's amazing. It's in Van Nuys,
and you must subscribe to their Facebook because I get stuff every single day on my phone from Valley Relics feed that I'm like, I remember that when I was a kid. It's so cool.
Yeah, their Facebook and their Instagram. Tommy's always posting.
He curates a lot. I mean, he posts daily, and he's always posting cool stuff.
So much
great old photos. Yeah.
And neon signs and old restaurant signs.
That's awesome.
And,
I definitely want to check out that place for sure.
I interviewed him over 10 years ago, and one of the lines that he said I'll never forget was, he's like, I'm a collector, I'm a this, but this is an obsession for him. He is obsessed with it. And you'd have to be to collect the type of stuff that, signage from back when I was a kid and beyond,
Did he inherit all this?
No, he just went and got it all, bought it all.
He put it together.
Yeah.
Wow.
He would find places that were going out of business or they're tearing it down. And he would go to them and say, hey, I want the sign. I'll buy the sign or I'll take the sign or whatever.
And people should understand, too, when you say Valley Relics, we're talking the San Fernando Valley.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he just has an obsession for anything San Fernando Valley.
He's also covered Los Angeles, too, because he has a lot of Los Angeles. How could you not? They're so close together. But mostly San Fernando Valley.
Right.
Yeah. So it's quite amazing.
Is he older?
We'll define older.
I mean, is he older than we? I'm older than you, and you, but is he?
He's 50. I mean, he acts so young.
So it is an obsession. I mean, this is from younger years on.
100%.
Awesome.
I mean, yeah, he is. Even before he started the museum, he had in his he has a screen printing business, and in his business, he had a whole room dedicated just most people might call it crap, but it's all the stuff that he collected about the Valley Relics, and he's taken me through this stuff. I'm like, oh my gosh, I used to eat there. I remember going here as a kid.
That's the best.
Oh yeah,
field trip.
Oh yeah,
Got to go down.
I saw a huge Pioneer Chicken sign.
Yes.
That was my first job.
Yeah.
It was Pioneer Chicken.
Don't delve into that.
What's funny? Him and Tommy and I went to Pioneer Chicken one time. The last Pioneer Chicken that was somewhere in LA, and ate Pioneer Chicken as I think we recorded it too. It was like the last Pioneer Chicken, and I think I don't know if it's still there.
I think it's still standing.
I miss it.
I'm pretty sure it is.
I
Pioneer
couldn't
Chicken
eat
was-
it. I couldn't eat it anymore.
Is this where you destroyed your first pair of glasses?
Yeah.
What car did you drive to your job there? Did you just
I hit my
destroy your
BMW
glasses?
2002
Ooh.
back then.
Wow.
And one of my first ones.
Okay.
Are we going to ask what everyone drove today?
2010 Honda minivan. Honda Odyssey minivan.
And how about Beth? What did you drive?
2019 Acura TLX.
Gabe?
I don't want to say.
I know what you drove. What did you drive? Come on, let us know.
We'll take a picture and post it.
Tesla.
Oh, okay.
Oh,
Alex.
the toaster.
I drove my 2001 Bullet Mustang.
Okay, he wins.
Oh, man.
Nice.
Man.
I don't think Dan's Corolla is going to beat that.
No, my Corolla's not going to beat that.
No.
This
so.
might be TMI. What's the worst stain, trash, fill in the blank in your car right now at this moment?
Stain? Like a
Or
stain
just stain or trash.
My 3-year-old's many stains mess around her.
In the back.
Around her area.
Okay.
Is that
her department, her area, her section of the
Okay.
car,
That's
which
the
is a
worst.
lot of it.
How about you, CJ?
it? I just cleaned it, so it's pretty nice.
No, it's not. You got something gross.
I don't know. I mean, I try to ignore the ugliness of the minivan.
Okay.
I mean, there's got to be coffee stains somewhere in
There
there,
you
but
go.
that's probably the worst.
Bingo. How about you, Alex?
I don't really open things too much in this car, so probably a wrapper for some breath mints
Good
or something.
answer. Good answer.
Yeah.
Do you still have plastic on the
Not
seats?
bad.
Dan the man?
No, I'm not that I'm not that crazy. I drive this car.
I parked my car in front of the Belasco Theater downtown LA because I've been doing a gig there. and they have these giant, I think they're like mulberry trees or something, and they're disgusting. Like they're you step on them when you're like getting out of your car.
Yeah.
They're all over my car, and they're like dried. It's like pretty nasty because I usually keep my car pretty clean, and it's pretty nasty.
So far, you're the winner.
Your paint might be disintegrating.
I know. I know. Yeah, it's not good.
Man, I asked because I opened my driver door and I have a dried from, I don't know, 2 months ago, matcha lavender something that my daughter bought me. And as I was getting in the car, it flew all over the door and it's still there. So when I open the door, it's so embarrassing. I'm like, oh.
By the way, it's very good to have you back.
It's so nice to be back.
Beth.
I've missed you guys.
People were
really.
like saying, where is she? Some people thought I took you out.
Like, insurance settlement.
What'd you do with your
I
wife?
took myself out.
Double indemnity.
She's like, I'm done with these guys. I'm out of here.
Insurance stuff.
Yeah, we're glad to have her back.
Yeah, we missed having you on the show, Beth.
Thanks. It is nice to
You
be
make
back.
the show better.
Thanks, you guys.
Yes,
Oh.
absolutely. Your fans were revolting.
Oh, well, I have so much fun. I feel so honored to be here and just kind of, I'm along for the ride. That's my motto. Right?
You're going to get a
a
t-shirt
good-
made
good
with
motto,
that?
yeah.
I'm
Right
along
show.
for
I
the
need
ride.
that. Yeah, that's right.
We can have a Beth line of merchandise, right? West of Tulsa.
like
I'm
that.
along for the ride.
Yeah.
Sure.
I like it.
Well, I haven't introduced everybody. So Gabe is here, obviously. He's been chatting it up quite a bit. We got Alex Zaragoza, who's back,
Yes.
and Dan's back.
I'm back,
He
yeah.
kicked Alex out of that seat
Yeah.
and is now taking over controls again.
Yep.
So we got everybody except for Helm, and now we know why. Helm's not here.
Yes.
He's hanging with the Filipino comedian.
Yep.
Yes.
Joe Coy's
awesome.
big. He's
Yes,
a big,
he is.
He's a big
He
guy,
is.
man. He's really popular.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that means Helm's just too good for us.
Helm moves in high
that what-
circles.
is that what
man.
you're saying?
Jay
Yeah.
Leno,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Joe
Helm,
Coy.
I always make
That's
the
it.
joke. A lot of people make this joke, but I make this joke particularly with Helm that he's always gallivanting around. And you say it in the Filipino accent, it's gallivanting.
Gallivanting.
Yeah.
Gallivanting.
Yes.
With the lumpia.
Yes, Helm is definitely gallivanting around. But that's
for him.
what he does best. He's he's representing West of Tulsa. He's getting us a lot of connections to stories and digging up a lot of stuff for us. So, I'm
Kind of our marketing guy at this point, right?
sadly,
Yeah,
we have
he's-
we
he's
have
He's
no
the
money.
best. He's the best.
He's our social butterfly. Like
Yeah.
anywhere you
Yes.
go with Helm, if there's a bunch of strangers, he'll just be like deep in conversation
Yes.
with 10 of them right away. He's
Yeah.
just that
So
guy.
true.
Yeah.
Look forward to him sitting back in the seat too.
For
Absolutely.
sure. For sure.
And I'm done talking about him.
Yeah. let's talk about our tip line. So we have our tip line. You go to, if you want to be on the show, join us here in studio, you can go to our website, westoftulsa.com, click on the tip line page, which apparently isn't working right now, right? Or something isn't working.
I don't know if it's not working. I just don't know if maybe people are not understanding what it is because the tip line is kind of misleading in a sense. I think it's cool.
It's newsy.
It's
though.
newsy,
It's
which is
newsy.
good,
Yeah.
It is.
which is fine. But really, the tip line is for people to tell us their story. We have people DMing us on Instagram and commenting. So I was like, hey, I used to do this, and I was like, if you did that on the tip line, we would get it. We could all read it.
Right.
Not everybody checks our socials. So
Do we change the name? Do we
Maybe.
call it something else?
always put it to the audience. What do you think we should call it?
Call it advice line? Like, hey, you need life advice or something?
And
you
Landers.
don't want live advice from us.
No,
we are the
no,
worst
no.
people to ask for advice
Like,
on that.
We already
mechanic
spawned a
advice?
dating
No.
show. So,
No?
you
Yeah,
know.
which by the way, shout out to Christina and Melissa. They're doing it's called Cars Speed Dating or something like that.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
their Instagram.
Car speed dating.
Yeah.
Oh, Melissa's
I
doing
like
that
that.
with her, huh?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
cool.
So they're kind of tag
Good
teaming
for
on that.
them.
Yeah,
That's
and
awesome.
I think they're working on their first event, which should be
That's
soon.
I mean, is it
I
up
love
and
that
going
idea.
right now?
the Instagram is up, so they're trying to build the brand right now, get awareness
All right.
out there, and get people out there. They're posting a lot of interesting dating facts. It's pretty interesting.
Is it only
Like,
targeting, say, Subaru drivers or Ford drivers,
No.
or is it whoever?
Anyone.
Whoever.
Anyone.
Okay.
You're a car person. You're single, hopefully still single and not married.
Hopefully.
and you're into dating. So you want to.
Well, you would think car community would be the ones that were mainly coming to this, so it's going to be a like-minded group,
Right,
which is
that's
a
right.
great
Correct.
idea.
Yeah.
But we did discuss with them, though, what if someone's not a car person? Would you date a non-car person? And Melissa was like, yeah, for sure. I don't want to compete with a car
There you
guy.
go.
It's
Yeah.
like,
Good
you know,
answer.
I do
But
my car thing.
But at the same
Yep.
time, she was like, if he can't drive a stick, I'm like,
yeah,
all my
yeah.
cars are stick.
Yeah,
True.
true.
So I think there's a balance, right? So you say a non-car person, like my wife might not be considered a car person. She really likes cars, but she likes a particular type of cars. So I'll consider.
Can she drive a stick?
Yeah.
Oh,
good.
yeah. I'm impressed. That's good. Because she's not old like me. I mean, CJ and I, we can drive a stick because we're old, right?
Yeah.
That's what you
I
do.
can drive
to
a stick
drive a
because I'm
stick.
old. Yeah.
I wasn't going to say that, Beth, because you're a lady and you never say a lady's old. But,
It's okay.
No, that's right.
I'm in with the group. It's all good.
but someone your wife's age, I mean, she's not old and she can drive a stick and she's a female, which is like, that's pretty, that's unusual these days.
Yeah, well, careful. Now someone's going to call you misogynistic, Dan.
I know.
We're getting comments like that, that's not the case at all. It's just statistically,
Right.
more men drive manuals. Just a statistic.
Right.
I know plenty of men who can't drive a stick, and I
This is
just
very
came across
true.
Oh,
a man
very
who
true.
can't ride a bike. I mean,
Really?
yes,
A bicycle or a motorcycle?
a bicycle.
That's sad.
That's
Never
very
learned how
sad.
to ride
That's
a
sad.
bike.
I wonder if that's Helm.
No, it's not hell. But I said, okay, we got to teach you how to ride a bike.
Is this like a grown man?
It's a young man in his 20s.
Wow. That's
Never
sad.
learned how to
Wow.
ride a bike.
That's very sad.
I know.
Can you swim?
My wife can drive a stick also. She I taught her when we were in our early 20s. I used to have a little mini truck and she said she wanted to drive it, so I taught her to drive
Nice.
stick, and
Awesome.
she
Nice.
drives stick till this day.
That's great.
She drives the Bullet.
I should
Good.
rescind my statement.
Yes.
That was sexist. I shouldn't have said that. Women can drive a stick. Just,
Damn,
There you go.
thinking that.
I'm
Oh, man.
going to backpedal.
Yeah,
now
there you
because
go.
I have that prerogative to backpedal.
And you know how to ride a bike, so you can backpedal. Okay, good.
Now, how many people can ride a unicycle is what I want to know. That's
I
impressive.
probably could, but not well.
Anyone
I
else
think
ride
we
a
balance it for a little
unicycle?
bit.
No.
Never
No.
tried.
Did you ever like have a high school friend and he's like riding a unicycle and you're like, what are you thinking, dude?
No,
Yeah.
never.
There was
I
a
did-
guy in my high school like ride around on a unicycle. It's like, dude, you're not going to get any chicks that way. Are you
Those
serious?
guys are suspicious to me.
It
Why do
is
you want
suspicious.
something with one wheel?
Yeah,
I don't
Yeah.
Well,
understand.
now these
that.
guys on the one wheel, right?
The one wheelers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
and they go 80 miles an hour.
I know.
Yeah.
I
It's
know.
crazy to see that.
There's a guy in my neighborhood that whizzes around on the one wheel, and he's like a car. He's got like a rear view mirror here, and he's like going in the lane with the cars, going like 40, 50, and I'm
Yeah.
like, that's crazy.
I know.
He
It
won't.
is.
He won't live much longer.
Young guy.
I don't think
know.
so.
Um,
We got off topic. I think
We
just
did.
a little bit.
But we
were
haven't-
coming
we
up with
haven't
a
all-
new name for the tip line.
We haven't all talked together
And-
for so long. There's a lot to talk
Okay,
about.
maybe there is.
And now our
Yeah.
audience is subjected to all of this
I
blabble
know.
because we haven't seen each other. But that's okay.
Yeah.
Hopefully it's entertaining.
We'll work on it. Come up with
Okay,
some
so back
ideas.
to tip
That's it.
line. So,
So-
what are the votes for tip line?
Well, Dan, you had a good suggestion there. What was it?
what
And-
was it?
um,
No, it wasn't advice. What was it?
Storylines?
A storyline.
Storyline.
Yeah,
Yeah.
storyline.
Yeah.
Storyline or whatever. But
Storyline's good because when people pitch, like in
Yeah.
Hollywood, it's like, what's the storyline? What's
Yeah.
the storyline? So, and it is, like tip line, but it's a little more specific.
That's not bad.
Storyline. I don't know.
Storyline.
car comments.
well, I'll tell you what. We'll put this
Car
on.
comments
We'll
is
put this
good.
on Instagram. We'll put
Do
a
a
vote
poll.
out there.
Do
We'll
a
do a poll
poll,
on
yeah.
Instagram and see
Okay.
what people say, and
Yeah.
the majority will speak, and then
You're going to have to
CG.
redo that cool graphic, though, Gabe. I don't know. That's a cool
That's what
graphic.
he does.
I would just urge viewers to put it into gear and let us know. Tell us their
Yeah.
stories
And-
because
Yeah.
we do want to hear them.
And obviously today we're going to talk about stories because we have a lot of stories. Some
Yes.
not so great, some great, but
Yep.
that's the whole point, is to capture these stories. And to people that want to be on the show or can't be on the show or whatever, we want to find a way to just capture the story. That's
Right.
the most important part. Is capturing
And have
that
you
story.
tell it.
Yeah.
And have you-
come
and have you
on
tell
and
it.
tell
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't know if you guys have noticed, but is this? I've been looking at my ugly mug here for a long time.
Well, it's autopotting, so I'm not manually
man.
switching
Oh,
it
is that
anymore.
what's happening
Look
now?
at that.
We use the autopod now.
Look at that.
So,
I'm just my
So it
ugly
just
mug.
goes on its own.
so my
Yeah.
switching duties have been relegated, as Alex
Yeah.
knows, just to like, yeah, you can
Wow.
switch
So
if you want.
those
but-
of you who are listening, we're talking about the switching system
Yeah.
that we use for our cameras, and it's typically Dan will switch around on the camera, and we have a studio monitor to show you what's going. Well, that's not on right now, and
Right.
CJ's been looking at his face in the monitor,
it was
going,
bothering
"I don't
me."
like this."
I said-
It was bothering me too.
Yeah, I
So
was
it's
like,
the
what
all
the
CJ
hell?
show.
Who's
Yeah.
that ugly dude?
Because I'm engaging in the
Is that
conversation.
it?
I'm not
Okay.
going.
All right, good.
Typing away.
I'm
That's right.
engaging in the conversation.
we should have Cannonball Run playing on the studio monitor while we do the show.
There you
That'd be
go.
good. That'd be good.
Anyways,
Gumball rally.
Gumball Rally.
all right.
Yes.
All right, so people can submit their ideas for Tipline. If
yeah,
come
yeah.
up with a new
go,
name.
just please go to the
Yeah.
website. Go just to the tip line, whatever it's called, tip line or storyline or whatever. Go there and just share a paragraph or two about your story.
And it doesn't have to be your story, because lots of people know other people. People are like, oh, you should meet this guy. This guy's got this
Yeah.
amazing
Yes,
collection.
yeah.
It's
Yeah.
like, we want to hear about it.
We
Tell
actually,
us, tell
you know
us.
what's funny? We actually had a guy on the Instagram say, I forget what post it was, but he was saying something about, oh, I know the guy that has that car or whatever. I was like, send us that. See, I already forgot what the context was because
Yeah.
it was a comment, and we get so many comments. And
I remember that. I'm trying to remember.
we'll have to look back. But I was like,
Yeah.
Go to the tip line and just tell us that story, even if it's not yours,
Right,
and then we'll
right.
look into that. That's one thing that CJ, Beth, and the rest of us do is we investigate these stories to find out, not just if it's true, but like, is this could be possible? Even is it worth telling?
Yeah, is it interesting?
And most stories are. Most stories. I don't want to discourage people. Like, oh, my story's not interesting. Your story is interesting, right? Might not be to as many people as like saying a story about, I don't know, some celebrity
a
or
singer
whatever.
Portia.
A singer Portia. Yeah,
Yeah.
but as we're finding out, the stories that we think that people might not be into, they're really into.
That's
Yeah.
a good point. David Neal, case in point, right?
Yeah.
It's like the trailer thing. Beth, did you watch that episode?
I haven't watched it, but I know him.
You know
and I've
David,
seen the museum is phenomenal, the Murphy Museum, and all the different trailers that he had there. And you walk into one of those
Yeah.
and you go back in time.
Yeah.
Big time. I mean, they're
The
beautiful.
trailer boat one, I think, is one that
The trailer boat was the one that got the big response,
Yeah.
right? And the Wagoneer.
The trailer boat and the Wagoneer, yeah.
The Wagoneer. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now,
And
you've
people
seen the
really-
Wagoneer, Beth?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's like
they're phenomenal.
I had never knew that existed, and I saw like the period ad with the kids like standing up in the back,
Yes,
hanging
that's
out,
right.
like totally
Yep.
dangerous.
He brought it to Cars and Coffee 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And people were just like, what the heck? And when you see it in person, you're like, this is so cool.
and he had the trailer boat attached to it.
Absolutely.
They
yeah.
matched the patch, the paint. I mean,
Yeah.
Really
it's a nice
cool.
combination we've seen
Yeah.
together.
Well,
They
Gabe
pull
and I
in-
were talking, and we were like, what we're discovering, what trends best in our audience is stuff they can't get anywhere else, and it's these obscure things. It's like niche stuff. So we're looking for stuff like that. It's like, all the mainstream stuff's great, a Lamborghini, a Ferrari, whatever. But the stuff, a trailer boat. It's like,
Well,
who would
the
think?
thing is, we think it's obscure and niche, but there's like, apparently the following is way bigger than we thought.
Yeah.
So like,
Vintage trailer
it just shows you
following,
what little we know. So instead of saying, oh, we think that story's good, or we think that story's good, or that's no good, it's like, we just treat everything as it's all good. We're just going to bring it to the service.
Let the audience decide.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah, because everything that we think we know, we don't know.
Speaking of obscure, Platypus. Remember we did the whole
Platypus-
thing on Platypus with
did-
Dana
trended
and
pretty
Bruce
well,
Terry.
yeah.
So that is a bit obscure. I had lunch yesterday with Dana. He gave me an update
Yeah.
on Platypus. In fact, he's there right now with Bruce.
Oh.
They'll be done with the body in 2 weeks.
Wow.
And then it
cool.
goes to electrical. They're going to wire the whole thing up. The motor's ready to go. He thinks it'll be ready by the end of the year.
Wow.
And he's going to bring it by.
That's
That's
pretty quick.
accelerated
Yeah.
schedule.
Yes, it is.
It is very quick.
And he wasn't going to paint it, right? They're going to leave it the polished
No, they're going to
aluminum.
leave it like that,
Yeah,
like an
polished
airplane, like an
aluminum, right? Yeah.
airplane shell, if you will.
Yeah,
right.
that thing's going to be amazing.
Yeah,
I can't wait to see it drive.
Yeah, he had a big smile on his face when he was telling me about it. The
I
progress.
bet.
That's
Yeah, I
awesome.
guess Bruce is really all those very difficult.
Yeah, the wheels and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. The
steering
what
mechanism.
would you call it? The
Articulated steering
there you
mechanism.
go. Yeah, and the fenders. They're built into the fenders.
Yeah.
That's all. Apparently, those are completed. So.
Alex, did you see any of this platypus stuff?
I
we're
did
talking
see
about?
a little bit of that.
What
yeah.
did you think about it?
It was pretty amazing. I like all that custom work. That was pretty neat stuff.
Yeah, Bruce is that guy's a wizard. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just seeing what he does was just like a human did this. I can't believe that. That's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah. So we'll have Platypus come by, but
Very cool.
Look
All right.
forward to it.
Yeah.
the other thing is, were you going to say something?
No, I'm just reminiscing in my mind about obscure and weird things. And in the recent weeks, we've been talking a lot about family and family trips. And CJ and I have been doing a lot of driving. I don't know if people know, but his father passed
Last week,
week.
a week ago today.
The patriarch of our family,
Yeah, yeah.
and just a really amazing, big-hearted man, and really hard to see him go. And
Yeah.
and I remember you talking about stories driving with the family in the station wagon to go see the rocket launches in Florida,
Yeah,
right? When you were a kid.
Yeah, this would be during the Apollo days, and we would drive down from Buffalo, and my grandparents lived in Vero Beach, Florida, and we would park along the A1A right outside Cape Canaveral to watch the rocket launches for the old Apollo.
All the way from Buffalo, you guys would drive?
Oh, we did that many times.
That's how long is
we-
that drive? That's got to take like
I don't
what?
know, 1,000 miles probably.
Wow.
I
Like
don't know.
a couple days, maybe?
Yeah, probably took a couple days.
And
Wow.
your dad would not make one bathroom stop for the kids in a couple days?
No, we actually had a Maxwell coffee can.
Oh, I don't know if we
We don't
want to
wanna
go
get
there.
too much
I
into
don't know
it.
if
No,
we
no,
want to
no,
go
You
there.
guys want to talk details about that one?
No,
All right.
probably not.
All right.
I kind of do.
Yeah. You can get away with guys probably a little easier.
Yeah.
I would
Well, the fact
imagine.
that your parents drank Maxwell coffee says a lot right now.
It wasn't Folgers.
This was early
Thank you.
70s, mid 1970s. So that
Folgers
was
crystals.
Oh,
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, Dad passed a week ago. Definitely a car guy. One of the motivations for West of Tulsa.
Yeah.
Your grandfather, obviously, Richard Keller, was another big motivator for it. But so after he died, and within hours, we started going through the old photos and just reminiscing. And what do I come across? I actually brought it. I came across a pristine bill of sale for his 1952 MG TD. Now, he talked about this thing for years and years. We saw pictures of it, but this shows he paid, what, I have to look at it, $762
Amazing.
for this car in 1960.
He bought it new.
No, it was used.
It was used.
It was
okay.
used, but still $700 for a used
$700.
car.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. An MG.
An MG, yeah.
What condition was it in?
Oh, it was in great condition.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, the photos of it show it was in really good condition.
Do
And
you guys know what a TD is? What's the TD denote? Is that like a special
you
model
probably
or
have
something?
you have the TC, TD,
Oh,
TF. And
okay.
the TF, I only know the TF is different because the headlights are kind of built into the fender. But the
Is
TC
it a
and
chronological thing? Like,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
a certain year they made
Older
a TC,
to
then
the
a
newer,
TD. Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
Again, disclaimer: we're not car experts. We
No,
don't know
we're
what we're
not.
talking about. We're just,
We'd
guessing.
love if an MG expert would chime in on this and
Sure.
educate
Yeah.
us, because who knows MGs? I don't know MGs
Yeah.
at
I
all.
don't either. Yeah.
And these are the really old. These are the old. Really, I mean, the fenders that are separate. And
It's like what the
they have
professor
older
drove
look
in
to it.
Flubber, right?
Yeah,
What Fred
exactly.
McMurray drove
Yeah,
in
yeah.
Flubber or
I think
something
so,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, so there's an interesting.
no idea what you're talking about.
There's kind of a stateliness to that car,
There
though,
is a
right?
stateliness. Yeah,
You've never
If
heard of
that's the right-
Flubber?
we've heard of it. I just don't remember the car.
Is that a dolphin? Is that a dolphin?
That's Flipper.
That's
No, it's a Disney.
Flubber?
It's a very popular
Wrong bell.
Disney movie from when I was a kid.
I
or
remember
you guys
it.
were kids.
I know the
Vaguely.
name.
Yeah,
FLUB.
he was a
was
mad.
it Don Knotts?
No, Fred
It was
McMurray.
Oh, Fred
McMurray,
McMurray,
Mad,
of course.
mad
Okay.
professor who
Okay.
invents something that you can put in your shoes and it makes the state team basketball be able to jump and win the game.
Sounds
And
vaguely
it's a
familiar.
Disney thing.
Yeah, sure.
Black and white movie.
Okay.
But I think he drove
Disney
an MG.
made black and white movies?
Yeah, bad. This
I
is
didn't know
like
they're
this
that
is like
old.
early '60s, late '50s, maybe.
Really?
Okay.
Yeah,
I know nothing. I don't.
You're learning
You're just
something
young.
every time we
You're just
chat.
young, Gabe.
I'm not even. I don't even think I was just young. I just don't know any of this stuff. Maybe I had a sheltered child. I don't know.
Well, I'm really into obscure, but I swear it was a mainstream movie. It wasn't. It was't an obscure movie, and I think it was Kurt Russell. Like one of his
That could
first.
be.
He was
that
like
would
a
be.
teenager in it.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
Kurt
he'd have to be
Russell.
young. Yeah.
Yeah, he had like the computer wore tennis shoes and Flubber. There was like a
Oh,
whole
yeah.
string of them that made Kurt Russell the child star, like 18 years
Yeah,
old. And he
right.
came up and it's like, oh, that's why Kurt Russell is a star today.
Yeah.
That's where he got to start.
Well,
Okay.
His actually first appearance was with Elvis. He was in an Elvis movie as a small
Yeah,
child.
as a kid, right?
Yeah.
yeah. Did you know
Wow.
Flubber
Wow.
when I'm talking about Flubber? Did you ever see it?
I remember it. I can't say I remember the car, but I do remember the movie.
I just remember he had some kind of little low sports car, and it reminds me of an MG. I don't know.
Yeah.
If it
It
might have
could
been
be.
a Triumph or something. I
that or
don't
a
know.
Morgan or something like
or
that.
an Italian. It might have been a Fiat or something. I don't know.
We'll have to
but-
Google it later.
Oh, yeah. You can count on Google. Don't count on us.
No, no. but that MG that Dad always talked about, he bought it and then drove it out to Tarkio from Buffalo. He went to Tarkio College in Missouri. So he drove the car out there, and the way he tells it, the engine blew up or he hit a tree or something like that. My grandfather drove out from Buffalo, fixed it on the side of the road, got my dad going again, drove it back to college. My grandfather went back to Buffalo.
And that says so much about your grandfather, too, what kind of man he was.
He could fix anything,
Yeah.
my grandfather.
They were amazing men.
Yeah. And so when my dad graduated from college, he parked the MG in a barn in Tarkio. And it was a buddy's barn, and he was planning on going back to get it, but that buddy was killed in a car crash shortly after that. And my dad just left it in the barn, and many years went by, and I think it was probably the 1990s. One day, my dad calls me up and he goes, "You're not going to believe this. I just got the Tarkio College newsletter, and on the cover is the president in a 1952 MG TD."
It was his car?
Oh boy.
He goes, "That's my car."
Oh,
Oh, my
so how
gosh.
did he get it? Did he buy it from?
Oh, who knows? And he never really went after. I mean, look, my dad had given it up for 40 years.
Yeah.
So he's not going to come back and say, "Hey, that's my car."
Wow.
But he knew he gave it up. But whether that was his car or not, I don't know. He was pretty convinced it was. It looked just like it.
Well, that kind of speaks to the Tony Banks story he told us, remember, about the hot rod that showed up like 30 years later. And it's like, back then, I don't even know if they had VINs, and they were just like, cars were just more like, I got a car, here, have a car. You know, it wasn't like
the
today.
magic muffler car.
Yeah, the magic muffler car, right.
I didn't realize that was the ending of it.
Yeah, that was that. And I still, to this day, don't know. Now, I'll say this. When I found the receipt for that car, the 52 MG, I was on the internet immediately trying to find it because it has a serial number. The chassis number, and it has the engine number, and a lot of those have registries. And I did find the MG, the old MG, I think it's a TD registry, and I went through it, and I didn't see the MG registered there, but it doesn't mean somebody doesn't have it out there. It doesn't mean the president is still driving around.
Need to make a phone call, CJ.
You'll find out for sure.
Yeah.
But if anybody's from Tarkio, Missouri, and they're listening to this and say, you see an old MG driving around Tarkio, Missouri, or that area, could be.
We want to know. We want to know.
Yeah.
Not that it matters now. Was it burgundy? I forget the color.
I don't even remember.
Okay. I want to say it
He
was.
didn't talk much about the color of it, just the fact that he loved driving it.
Yeah.
In fact, in his office, I found a model of an old MG TD. So, I mean, it just shows you how much you love that car.
Yeah.
But he had a bunch of cars. A Hillman. You guys ever heard of a Hillman?
I've heard of it. I don't know what it
He had
is.
a
Is that an
Helm.
English car?
English car, but he had it in Buffalo. And he bought it probably early 50s, just this boxy little thing that probably had 10 horsepower.
Helmsman, but not Hillman. No.
And I have to say that they're not, I don't mean to offend anybody because I certainly am no expert, but they're not overly reliable, correct?
Hillman?
English
English
made
cars.
cars.
You're not
And so-
offending anyone.
Okay, it's-
Historically, they're not very reliable.
Historically, they're not, and to be driving that in that kind of weather.
Especially back then.
Yeah.
50s, yeah.
Wow.
They always talked about the Hillman. I don't know why. Maybe it was just such an odd car to have back then. Because, if it is British, I don't know.
Sounds British.
Not many people had them.
Yeah.
Even an MG TD back then.
Yeah.
He didn't have didn't have a lot of them.
What was his daily when you were in Buffalo? Like what was his typical daily driver?
God,
because it wasn't the MG, right?
No.
That's like a weekend car.
Yeah, no. I mean, like he always had pretty cool cars. I will say this: his one weak moment, he went through a phase where he was being too practical, if you will, and he bought what would be a 1981 Chevy Chevette.
That was a bad car.
Bad car.
That's the year I graduated from high school. I know that car. That's a bad car.
Yeah, he bought one of those.
I think Chevy wants to memory hole that era.
Oh, that's a horrible car.
Yeah.
Well, that's Chevy's Pinto, the Chevette.
Oh, yeah.
I think that's worse than a Pinto.
I think
Pintos are actually kind of cool now. So
well, yeah,
I don't think
they've come back
Chevette will
around.
ever be cool.
Yeah, Chevette.
Other than that moment of weakness, he really had some pretty cool cars. So,
Yeah.
Volkswagens in the 60s when everybody was behind the Volkswagens. But
Yeah, Helm and I got a chance to meet your dad not too long ago, and he's an interesting character because it took him 4 seconds before he started laying into you about stories that about you as a
supposed secrets that
punk kid or something like that.
punk kid
He
always
was
get
a
in trouble.
punk.
And he tells me and Helm, he's just like, it's like, yeah, if you want to hear any other stories, I got a ton of them about CJ. I'm like, yeah, let's hear them.
We'd like
Well,
to
I
hear
was
them
the
all.
troubled child. There's no doubt about it. I was definitely the troubled child.
Well, you cleaned up nicely, I think.
Oh, thank you. Well, it's now 50 years removed.
You learned from all getting kicked out of high school and all the things that you went through, right,
Oh,
CJ?
yeah. Kicked out of high school. I've never heard him drop so many F-bombs.
I bet.
Oh, my gosh.
Why not?
You did what? Da, da, da.
When you made it onto TV, network TV or whatever, doing the news and stuff like that, did it change at all? Did he like, oh, it was all worth it, because
Well, he
now
never said that.
Okay.
He wasn't a man to heap praise.
Yeah.
He wasn't. Although I feel like he did more so on the grandkids.
Yeah. Well, and here's the thing. He would say it to somebody else. He wouldn't always
Yeah.
just say it to me, but he would say it to
Right.
because people would always come up to me and say, "Oh my gosh, he's so proud of you."
Yes. And he was and you could tell he
and
was
you could
so
tell.
proud of you.
Yeah.
He
Now,
was.
would he sit there and gush over me?
Yeah.
No.
He had a
That's-
very gruff exterior.
Well,
with
that's that greatest generation thing too.
Yeah.
That's just how they were, and it's like most of the guys when they came back from the war, they wouldn't talk about the war
that's right.
because that's just not. We want to get on with life. Like forget the war.
That's right.
Right.
So
Yeah.
I think that kind of bled into the sort of family dynamics because that story you're telling I've heard that 100 times from other guys our age, and it's like, my dad was never overly effusive with that sort of thing.
Yeah, effusive.
Yeah, that's my
big
$10.
word, Dan.
That's my $10 word.
Man, I was thinking, is he calling me a bad name or something?
Yeah, I'm gonna take offense to that.
You know effusive.
I know, I'm joking. So, yeah, I mean, he was a good guy, car guy.
Yeah.
And it's sad to see him go. But the whole point of this is why we created all of this was because we want to preserve the legacies. And luckily with my dad, I did a lot of that. Yeah. I was able to have a lot of discussions. He watched the show, loved the show, loved the idea behind the show. He would always call me up and go, "Oh, you guys were funny with this." And
And he was in the studio here, which is awesome.
And he was here and
he got to see your workplace here, which is very cool.
Exactly.
Got to see the vision for West of Tulsa, which is a lot of people don't get that with their parents. It's cool.
I'd say between him and Richard Keller, obviously he was the one that started the West of Tulsa Museum, but that is literally why we're doing this. Literally, I mean, to capture these stories.
Preserve the legacy.
Preserve the legacy, because that's, at the end of the day, when everybody's gone, that's all we have, right? Is this memory, and when those memories, they'll live forever so long as the memory lives forever, right?
Maybe that's what gets people to contact us and tell their stories. Do you have somebody out there like my dad or like Beth's grandfather, somebody who influenced you or is influencing you right now,
for sure,
and want to document it before they go?
No, maybe you're onto something, because maybe people don't come out and want to share a story or some story because they think that story about somebody else or their father or their grandfather or mother or whatever isn't relevant to them, but it is. It is.
No,
I mean, most of the stories that we've heard previous guest Steve Feist talk about all these people that he knew, that he learned from, that even no longer, including his dad, and he's telling, and his grandfather and grandmother who had this amazing collection of cars.
Yeah,
he's talking about them. There's like, that's probably the only way that they're going to stay alive is through this conversation that he's having with people. So maybe you're right. Maybe we encourage people to share the story about your grandparents or your father or mother or brother, sister, whatever, about their cars.
Somebody influenced you to get into the hobby or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So who was it? Was it a relative? I mean, I know I grew up listening to my grandfather talk about all the cars he owned, my dad, and obviously it leached into me and my brother.
Yeah.
In fact, that was one of the other things. So I'm going through all these photos. I find that receipt for the MG. Then I've opened up another folder that my dad had, and it's the photo of a 1970 Chevelle.
Oh,
my brother's car.
There's a cool car.
Yes.
All right.
So it's actually, we called it the Chevelle, but it's really a 70 Malibu that was converted to the Chevelle standard. So it was originally came with a 307, and then Greg took out the 307 and went to, it was his girlfriend's friend's father was the head mechanic for Scotty Brayton Racing, Indy Racing. Does anybody remember Scotty Brayton?
No.
So this had been in the 80s. But Greg pulls up in this Chevy Malibu, and the guy says, "Hey, save up a few bucks and bring it back, and I'll blow up this motor. I'll take out the 307, I'll put in the 350, and I'll add a bunch of muscle to it." So Greg does. And he ends up with this beautiful car. He painted a burgundy metallic, center line rims, big old honking tires in the back. Every kid's dream in 1980.
Yeah.
And find this photo. I take a picture of it, text it to my brother, and he's like, "Oh my God, I don't have a photo of it. I've never had a photo of that."
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
I said, "Well, you do now."
That's great.
I found
That's
this
awesome.
photo, so I'm saving it for him. I'll give it to Greg.
So
but-
where's the car now? Did you do your research?
Oh, Greg's going to kill me for even saying this, but so Greg, something happened to the car. Couldn't get it started.
Mm-hmm.
And it sat there for a while. And Greg's got frustrated with it. Boy, he's going to give me hell for even telling the story because I know it still bothers him. But he parked it and then decided, I'm going to get rid of it. So he lists it for sale, sells it. The guy calls him up hours later and goes, "Oh, guess what? The only thing that was wrong with it was a ground wire."
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Brutal.
Oh. And did Greg say, "I want it back"? We have.
Oh, I'm sure in his
seller's
head he was
remorse.
like, "Oh, damn." But it's too late. I mean,
Well,
you sold the thing,
That's
right?
what being young is for. You make
that's
stupid
hard
decisions
lessons,
when you're
yeah.
young.
But you know
Hard
what? I
lesson.
think you fight for something you love. He should have called that guy back and said, "You know what? I know I just sold." Yes, cry.
you
Do
know
whatever you
how
have to
much
do.
money
double the
That's
price.
right.
Double the price. You can
There you
have
go.
it back.
That's right.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
Because some car buyers have big hearts, I've learned, talking to all these wonderful men. It's true.
Yeah. There are some cool people.
Well, it's too late
there.
now. That was
decades ago.
35 years ago. But
And if you want that era Chevelle now, they're about $100,000 for a nice one, right?
well, the real ones, yeah.
Yeah.
This was again, it was a Malibu conversion, if you will. But that thing rocked. They had the cam.
Yeah.
You know, it was one of those cars. You know,
Beth's looking at me like, really?
Best doing that men and car thing. Like
Those are not my favorite.
do you want me to do the sound effect again?
No, please don't.
I want you to do a rotary now.
Do you want me to do a peel out?
No.
No, okay, all right.
You notice when Beth tells her Volkswagen story, she doesn't imitate the sound of her Volkswagen.
And I have a story about my dad, what he went through with his car, what he did with it, and as a kid, I was mortified. And my dad had really cool Jeeps, Toyota Land Cruisers and Jeeps. And he went through a phase where he had this Blazer, and it was burnt orange with the white top, and it had this weird funky texture on it. And he put, you guys know what it is, whatever with the muffler.
Oh, glass pack. We talked about
glass packs.
I think we talked about this on
I think we did.
long time ago. On an
it was
early
mortifying.
Show. Yeah.
And I could hear him 2 blocks away coming home. Like, oh,
wake
my
up
God.
the whole neighborhood, right?
You're a grown man. Why do you need to do that to your car? You have children.
Because it's
What is it?
cool.
Yes.
Because it's cool. To
Okay,
have
I
these.
thought otherwise.
What did it sound like?
I don't want to talk about it.
I
can
better
still
push
hear
my
it.
car out of the parking lot.
Yeah.
But you know what? Your car came that way. You're not my dad, so it's okay.
I did modify it a little bit, but
So tell me, is it just kind of it's visceral? It's a rumble. You feel it.
oh yeah,
When you're driving, is that what it's about?
Absolutely. I mean, but
Feel it
it's
in the chest,
it's,
right?
It's
Yeah.
you don't do it for that. That's just a benefit, but you do it for the performance. Obviously,
Right.
is the main reason.
Actually, it's funny because I have a similar story to what your brother. Well, not as bad. Sorry, Greg. But so my RX-7, my '93 Mazda RX-7. I bought it as a car that I was going to drive in between building another car, my race car, which it turned out to be a complete nightmare. My buddy Greg's listening to this right now probably and it's going, yeah, it's a nightmare because he's the one that works on it mostly. And we were just going to do a few things to it and get the running and driving, but it's turned out to be like this big problem. And we just start pulling the thread of that sweater. And long story short, we had ended up replacing everything on the car. And we replaced the whole wiring harness. We replaced it with a brand new wiring harness from a very reputable guy. Well, ever since we put that harness in, we've had nothing but electrical problems. So we just kind of chasing this stuff down. And we were working on stuff. We were working with the tuner remotely. He's helping us put it all together, trying to figure out what the problem was. And we just gave up. We checked everything. Everything makes sense. The car wasn't starting up, wasn't running right, whatever. And then my buddy was like, well, let's pull the injectors out and let's test it again, which I had replaced them already twice. And we pull out, and he goes, hey, this clip looks funny. So we pull out the clip, and it's called an EV6 connector. It's what it plugs into the injector from the wiring harness. And the pigtail on it, the wires are going into it, weren't seating correctly. So he looks over and says there was a casting in the injector that was wrong. And it was preventing the clip from touching the injector and making contact with the injector. We're like, no way.
So tiny.
Yeah, it was like a little it's a plastic cage, basically. It's a locking feature.
Right.
We ripped it out, stuffed it in, car fired right up.
Wow, just that little tiny thing.
4 years we were chasing this problem. Well, granted, off and on because we can't work on it all the time. But
Oh, jeez.
there's been many times thinking I'm questioning my life, going, "What am I doing with this car? I'm a grown ass man." But the second that thing fired up, and we recorded it too, I put it on my Instagram.
You're like, oh,
It was the weirdest feeling. I was pissed off of what happened for the last 4 years, and so excited.
yeah.
So excited. I share the video with my wife. And what is she? The first thing she says, why does it sound like that? It sounds broken.
Oh, man.
And anybody who knows anything about rotaries or has ever heard of rotary, they have a very unique sound, which is why rotary guys like them.
Right.
Do you want to do an imitation of it?
Not a chance. The slang is brap, brap, brap. It does a brap, brap, brap
Yeah.
sound.
Brap,
That's the brap. And that's what most rotary guys want. 'Cause that's what very unique to the rotary. And I live for that. the second that car fired, I had a newfound like love for my car, and now I'm like jonesing to get it driving now because now it runs properly. So it's just one of those things that Beth, you're saying like what my dad did to the car was atrocious. It was like I'm sure my wife thinks that about what I'm doing with my rotary, but it's music to my ears.
I hear it all the time on the 101 and the 405 when we're going to go see family and aging parents. You know, you hear a lot of those cars.
Oh yeah.
What's that? What's the race car? That Mazda race car that's famous. The
787.
Yes, yeah, that thing sounds incredible.
Yeah, well, there's a couple.
I've never heard
of
a car.
Mazda race cars, iconic, but the green and orange one that you've seen.
Yeah,
that's the one. That's a 4-rotor. Most street cars are 2-rotor, but it is an amazing. It's a very. There's nothing like it.
Yeah,
nothing like it.
Is it usually when it's slowing down or speeding up that you hear it, or is it all the time?
It's all the time.
Yeah.
On rotaries, it's all the time. It's the idle, it's the rev, it's the down, it's all that, and they all have unique sounds. There's no engine like it. It's such a unique sound.
I think we should dedicate an entire show to the sounds of cars.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
I really do.
That'd be cool.
Yeah.
That'd be really cool.
I'd be all for that. I'd be all for that.
But you'd have to do the imitation. You'd have to.
I
do
can't
the
decide
sound
if I
effect.
like the sound of that Mazda or the Paganis. The Paganis sound incredible.
The Paganis sound pretty cool.
Mercedes V12, that thing is.
But see, here's the thing: like, going all the way from like, I know Alex will like this. A Fox Body 5.0.
Oh yeah,
with a nice cam in it.
Great sound.
Great sound. Or an LS with a chop, or Steve Ice, a rat motor, big block Chevy with a nice heavy cam on it. They all have great, unique sounds.
For
Even
sure.
an old flathead Ford, you get
that
old school
that rumble.
flathead.
The
Yes.
VW guys,
Yes.
the Bug guys, the VW guys, they love that. I mean, I can't stand it, but I could appreciate it because it's a very unique sound to a VW.
My '69 GTO had a Ram Air cam in it, and I drove it around town with just the headers, open headers around town, and everybody was just like, "Oh my gosh, what is this race car?"
Sound.
But it was so fun. It was just so fun to do it.
Well, Helm, and Helm, and you got to experience this at the Death Valley Wagon Tour with Blue Nelson. The turbo diesel Mercedes sound is unique. There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
It's super unique.
Yeah.
5-cylinder diesel.
Yeah. So I love the idea of doing a show where we're talking about the sounds and play clips from
that. Would be awesome.
Or, hey, could you guess what that sound is?
Yes.
I love it.
That is.
I love it. That's a good show. That's a great show.
great.
idea.
I want to do
Yeah.
a poll on our Instagram. I was like, what is the best sounding engine to you?
I love it. I
And
love
the
it.
thing about that is, everybody's going to have a different opinion.
Yeah.
Of course.
That's the best part about it. So you can hear all these different opinions. You can hear all these different cars. I think, that's a good one.
Oh, I have a theory, Gabe, because I grew up racing motocross. So I was in the first Suzuki RM125 era, which was like when the first kind of high performance motocross bikes came out. And my race bikes, they had a power band of like nothing, and it was all at like 10 to 12,000 RPMs and up. So I think I'm attracted to the Pagani and the Mazda because it's high.
Yeah,
it just sounds like like a hive of angry bees. It's just you can hear it from like miles away.
Yes.
And I appreciate like I know what a big block sounds like revved up or a drag car, at the drag strip.
Yes.
And that sounds awesome too. But there's just something about that. It's almost like the F1. The 90s era F1 cars that just, 20,000 RPMs.
I think, Beth, you're saying something visceral. It is. We say this all the time. It is a visceral thing. It has to be. There's nothing else like it. That's why the EVs won't get that kind of, because yes, they have the performance. I see a meme all the time on the internet about how you can cook a steak in a microwave, but why? Yeah, it's like you could cook it way faster, but why?
Right.
And and EVs will do 0 to 60 in 2 seconds without blinking, and that's great. But
there's nothing visceral. They're an appliance.
But you know what? I understand what you're saying, but in part of that I disagree with, because we have a coworker who has a Fisker.
Yeah.
And when he starts it up, I mean, it sounds like kind of what you were describing about the Mercedes.
Really?
And I don't know. Well, and I may be way wrong because I don't know what this Mercedes sounds like that you're talking about. But it is kind of such a high techno sound, like you're being beamed up somewhere. It's just a very.
I mean, you kind of are actually beamed up, really.
But it's a cool sound, and nothing else makes that sound.
And there are guys hot. We want to call them hot rodders or not. There are guys that soup up and trick out their EVs. And I think it's cool. I think it's cool because in their own respect. Would I get into that? No. But
You wouldn't even get into it?
no, I mean, get into it. Like,
You wouldn't get into it.
Involved.
But
with
you
that.
would get inside the
Oh,
car.
yeah, for
so,
sure.
Okay, got it. There's a difference.
Hey,
I wouldn't get in there.
power is power to me. How, acceleration is acceleration to me. But the sound, the smell, those are all huge,
Yes.
huge
For sure.
factors.
100%. Yeah.
So, it's not just, it's almost the style of it instead of like the actual literally getting to A to B,
Right.
Yep.
So
Actually, I'm not sure, but and you can answer this question, but I think that's one of the ways that I was able to sell the 911 to Beth.
The sound?
Well, the sound of it, because remember you at first, you were like, oh, it's not practical. We shouldn't consider the 911. We should get a used Honda or whatever you were saying. And then you went with me down to
I didn't say a used Honda, but go ahead.
you had the look in your eye. But
that
you
Honda
got into
look.
the car. She drove around in the Porsche, the 911. And I said, okay, wind it up. So she winds it up. I said, now let off the gas. And you hear that little where it backs off.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what sold it.
Well, and I am about smell. I love the smell of cars and certain specific cars. And that car felt like we had driven it our whole lives. Like it just fit like a glove. It just did.
Well, we talked about that with Craig when Craig was here about the smell. Like he said, the English leather smells different than the Italian leather.
You're talking about the interior smell because exterior smells a lot different.
Yeah,
That's a different. That's a different show.
Sure.
Because if I bring I will bring it over here, but I don't think you're gonna like the smell of my car. I love it, but I don't think you'll like it.
Is it real exhausty? Is it what?
It's all exhaust. Yeah.
All exhaust.
Nothing-
all the
nothing
time.
stopping
My
it.
61 Corvair, it fills up the neighborhood.
Hey, to me, the best smell is race gas. The race gas smell.
Yeah.
Oh my god, when it's burning, it is the best.
Yeah.
It's like perfume.
It does have a
It's
smell.
like napalm in the morning. Is that it?
Oh.
It's definitely napalm.
Yeah.
I mean, actually, it's funny when you say that. Every time I do smell race gas, it reminds me of when I was much younger. We would go to the racetrack early in the morning. That's the only time I'd wake up early in the morning is to go to the track, and everybody's starting up, warming up their engines, tuning them up to get ready to race, and you just that smell super early in the
Top
morning.
fuel dragsters.
it's
and
like
fun
cacophony,
cars.
a cacophony of smells.
Oh, dude,
if that can be
a what?
A cacophony.
You know, like the orchestra, and you hear all the different instruments, and they're
Gabe,
when
it's
they're
an
getting warmed
effusive
up.
cacophony. Okay?
Cacophony.
A cacophony.
Yeah, a cacophony. That's a
Sounds
great
like
word.
That sounds like a
But this
drink
is
Helm would order at the coffee
obviously
shop.
more of a smell, not the sound.
Cacophony.
A cacophony.
It's a great
I want a
word.
shirt that says
a great
cacophony.
word.
We
What?
are raising people's vocabulary.
Yes, we're a highbrow show. We have an
Yes, we are.
effusive cacophony of vocabulary
do.
here, right?
Probably getting people going, what the fuck are they talking about?
Yeah.
People open a
We're
dictionary trying to
alienating
figure
all
out
the
what-
car guys. They're just like, one
No,
of these
they
idiots
know.
talking about.
They know. You know.
Yes.
Next
Cacophony.
time, next
Just
time
say
you,
yes,
you
Gabe.
hear it and you see it, you're gonna go, "That's what it is."
I'm going to use that at
I
the
get
next
it.
Cars and Coffee. This is a cacophony of cars.
Yes,
Cars,
yes.
cars and
It will be
cacophony.
when they're all starting up and you can hear them. It's
They're
the
gonna
best.
be like, that guy's a little slow. He's making up words now. I don't know. So, so going back to people listening to the show and hearing these stories and stuff like that. My cousin sent us a note, and I think I shared it with you guys. It was interesting because my cousin, I didn't think he'd be interested in like the majority of our shows. He's, but he said that
We don't think a lot of people would be interested in the majority of our show.
Yeah, exactly. We're just doing this because we like talking to
Doing
each
it
other.
because we
Right.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that he's finding himself more interested in the stories and learning about people. And I think that's the thing that transcends what kind of car, kind of thing you're
Yeah.
into. It's about the people. And you don't have to be into cars. I mean, I'm not into international harvesters, but our show this week that we put out
Yeah.
about the harvester with Dan Hayes.
Dan
and,
was a real
Binder
interesting
Boneyard.
guy. Real interesting guy.
I mean, we even talked about it. It's like we thought it was his name or binder, like a folder. It was like binder. No, it was a corn binder. I'm like, dude, that's so
Yeah.
cool.
Yes.
Going back to the history of why it was so popular because the war, and
Yeah.
the machinery, the industrial area, whatever you want to call that. I was like, this is really, really cool. It's fascinating. And I'm not even into that stuff. And that's the part where I feel like more people came out of the woodworks and shared these kinds of
Oh, yeah.
stories.
Yeah.
We'll know and learn so much more about not just cars but people.
Well, and he's
history
up in Oregon too, which is just a completely different vibe than Southern California.
Yeah.
He's talking about farming in Eastern Oregon and like the how the binding machine would bind up hay bales or corn or whatever, and that's like
He
that's
posted on something on
pretty cool.
social media this morning where they're in snow.
Oh,
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Still,
See that?
still
Did you see
snow
that?
in June?
Yeah.
Wow.
I'm guessing it was it's current.
Wow.
I don't think it's an old photo, but who knows? But yeah, he's got a great story. I mean, and when I was listening to it the second time, and he talked about being homeless and living in it, and then picking up the pieces of his life, yeah, pretty powerful stuff.
Now I'm looking back on all the shows we've done, and it's like look at the spread of people we've had on here and the spread of stories. It's like I'm really proud of us because we've gone from dating to International Harvester to Range Rovers to we're literally all over the map.
But all connected through some kind of vehicle or some kind
people
of
and
machine.
stories, people and stories, right?
And that's what I find so unique about a car. A car connects so many people, whether you're into them or
it
not.
does. Right. It does.
It's like that's our plug for Cars USA. It's everywhere.
Yeah.
There's a guy I think you saw on our Instagram in Sweden. He has a harvester that he's building, or whatever. He's like, I'll never be able to bring it to the harvester museum that Dan's planning to build.
Yeah, Dan wants to build. Yeah.
But I was like, dude, I would love to hear your story about you being in Sweden and building a IHC.
Was it a pickup?
I don't know if it was a Scout or whatever, but he's building something that he's.
Well, I missed that one. So he's in Sweden?
Yeah.
And he saw it?
Yeah, I messaged him. I was like, or responded to him. I was like, hey, dude, if you ever come out here, we want to hear your story.
I think we need to take the show to Sweden.
Well, I can get with that.
Can we go to Hawaii first? Can we go to Hawaii? I need to go to Hawaii.
You need to go to Hawaii first.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's Hawaiian car culture?
It's awesome, actually.
Well, we know drifting came via Hawaii. We know that firsthand. Yeah.
Really?
Wait a minute. You want to clarify that because you're going to get a lot of guys saying you're talking wrong because drifting did not come from Hawaii.
No. It came to the United States via Hawaii because the Japanese culture in Hawaii, they were doing drifting before we had our first meets over here. That's what the guys told me when we interviewed them.
I know. I know that, but I'm saying we'll clarify this because there will be some people, I know, they're already going to say it now because we're talking about this is that we've got it all wrong or whatever.
Well, true.
This is what we were told, yes, that the drifting scene in Japan has been going on forever.
In 2003, we were told this, too.
Yeah, in 2003, we were told this when we were doing a drifting documentary, that the drifting came to the mainland through Hawaii because the Japanese that came from Japan to Hawaii were already kind of doing that,
hey, let's do a drift thing here in Hawaii. And cool.
And in Hawaii, the car culture is kind of like, I want to call them like Asian rednecks. Because I mean I know that sounds terrible, but there are like kind of Asian like this like grassroots, like let's just get it done. They have a unique culture that's a mix of Japanese and like American and Hawaiian too. It's really, really cool. It's very unique, to Japan. That's their flair, and I think it's cool
because they like hot rods in Hawaii too, don't they? Like hot rods are American Iron's big in Hawaii.
There's only one drag strip in Hawaii. I think that's on the island of Maui. But everybody on the island, they're into drag racing or drifting or some kind of car culture is big.
We got to go there.
Interesting. Wow.
We got to go there.
That's my plug for us going to Hawaii.
Let's go to Hawaii.
All right.
We need to be educated by the Hawaiians about Hawaiian car culture. That's what we're saying.
Then Sweden.
Hawaii, then Sweden. We'll just take a flight from
little detour there, Beth.
Right.
Speaking of hot rodding, so we got a big event coming up.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Now, this will air before.
Yeah, this show that we're doing right now.
This show will air before we tape it. Yeah.
So this weekend we're going to be shooting an episode called
Central Coast Racing.
Central Coast Racing, with the help of Tony Baker and Dana Newquist, who's really organizing all this. We've got a panel of 10, 11 guys
and going up,
which is driving Dan crazy.
I'm told the legends of hot rodding is what I'm told.
Yeah, at least in the Central Coast.
Yeah,
and we have some big hitters are coming. And the cool thing about it is that all these guys are going to be in the same place at the same time, talking all these stories and sharing all their stories. And this could very well be the last time they ever do this.
We're literally saying history will be made on Saturday night. Yeah. It will, because you will never have this collection of guys together again. And many of them are of advanced age and will be leaving us probably. So that's really the fact.
And some of the people that we were originally were going to have on this have already passed. So so that is true,
Yeah, the oldest, I believe, is Lee Hammock, and he's post-World War II. When
94,
you hear the stories,
I think someone told
something
me,
like that.
94, yeah.
So these guys were racing in the 40s, 50s, 60s.
And once
some
they're
are still
gone,
racing today.
That's
Wow.
awesome.
And once they're
great.
gone, the stories are gone,
That's
as we
right.
know. I mean, we've
That's
got Tony, who, thank goodness, has his book and is writing about this stuff.
Yeah.
But it's a very unique thing. Like racing on the Central Coast is a huge thing, as we discovered when we had Tony on.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. Yeah, especially in Santa Barbara. We have guys that came from the airport racing, Santa Barbara Airport Racing, the Thunderbolt, and just hot rodding in general, that are all going to be on this panel, just sharing all these stories from back in the day. And I'm pretty sure there's going to be all kinds of things that people didn't know that are going to come out. And I'm excited for it. It's going to be really, really cool.
I'm excited too because we're going to set this up as like a podcast. It's going to be a massive podcast studio.
Yeah, so we're going to record this. We're going to shoot it and record it. But how we package it, we're not sure yet. But we're going to capture all of it and share it,
Preserve it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll be able to do this more regularly because we feel like we're not killing. Wow,
Bad choice of words. Gabe.
Yeah.
Bad choice of words.
We're dotting a lot of I's and crossing a lot of T's in one day.
Yeah, that's it.
So and Dana's bringing a couple cars out and a bike or something like that. So
Get everybody in the mood. Is
yeah. So it's gonna be really cool. It's gonna be up in Santa Barbara. And we'll post some stuff on the socials, with updates, but it'll be a little while before we release it.
And you already posted a photo of the empty seats in the auditorium where we're going to hold this.
Yeah. We're
That was
expecting.
a preview, right?
Yeah, we're
teaser?
slated for 200 people to show up, but it sounds like there could be more because Dana invited everybody.
He sets the vibe. He really does.
Yeah.
He's
He
so
does.
good at that.
Yeah, which is amazing because we have not promoted this on the internet at all. It's all been word of mouth, so it'll be pretty interesting.
Well, part of it is we're afraid if we start advertising, we're going to end up with 1,000 people, and we have
You
a
can only
max of
hold
250.
250,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah.
250 in the room. So if 1,000 people
So a very
came.
exclusive event. So
Yeah.
But yeah, we're looking forward to this. This will be really, really cool. Getting all these stories out in one evening and just documenting this stuff.
And in some form or fashion, we're going to be posting that entire show on our YouTube channel,
Yeah.
so you'll be able to watch it even if you can't get in.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. It's going to be a fun night.
No, it's going to be
It'll be a fun
epic.
night.
I would say
forward to
epic
it.
is not an inappropriate word
No,
to
I
use
agree.
here.
So-
It's like,
I mean, I'm getting calls from people saying, "Hey, I hear you doing something on Saturday night with all the legends," and I'm like, "Yeah, word is spreading."
Yeah.
And I'm not saying anything to anybody. Not intentionally trying to keep it secret. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's the second we've
Spreading.
put it out there publicly, people are like, "Hey, how can we get in?" I'm like, I don't know if you can. You know. So
yeah.
Are there currently spots available at this moment?
well.
We won't know till the day of.
ticket sales at
Till
the
the night
door, I
of.
believe,
Yeah,
right?
ticket sales at the
ticket
door.
sales
Yeah.
at the door.
But it
Okay.
sounds like from what Dana's saying is that everybody that he's talked to has already committed to coming, and he's thinking that it might be over capacity. So
Yeah.
the fire marshal might have
Will
a
they-
few words with us.
Are they allowing standing room only on
No.
as well?
No.
Oh, they're really
That's
not.
the
They're being
problem.
very
No.
strict about it. Okay.
Yeah.
People probably will be turned away if we go over 250.
We
It's
could
just-
open the door so people could stand outside and listen in.
Maybe.
I've been to events
maybe.
there where that has happened.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
How about a
that'd be
monitor in the
overflow.
parking lot or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We do have a good PA system, so we'll see.
We'll see.
We'll see. It's going
An
to be
overflow
interesting.
audience. That'd be kind of fun, wouldn't it?
One speaker outside.
Yeah.
It's gonna be that or 20 people show up. Either way, we'll
Relatives.
make it work.
It'd
Yeah.
be all relatives, right?
Yeah.
Well, if you watch the Tony Baker episode of our show or bought his book, you will want to check this out because it's a lot of the same people and the same pictures, and it's pretty epic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that'll be really, really cool.
And there are a couple
Yeah.
surprises we have built in. I'm not going to give it away.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it wouldn't be a surprise. But we got
Right.
surprises
Right.
built
Yeah.
into the show that I think everybody's going to be interested in.
Yeah, and it really, it's funny. I've been commuting lately down to Orange County, and I was at a has to remain unnamed Japanese car manufacturer's headquarters past 3 days, and I was driving past House of Imports on the 5 there, or the 55, whatever, it's the 5, I think, and I was just like, I would love to do something down there with those guys. That's like, I don't know if have you ever seen House of Imports, Beth? You know what
I
we're
have
talking
seen
about?
it, but I've never.
It's like a city. It's like a
Yeah.
Mercedes dealership that goes on for like a mile down the freeway. It's crazy. I'm
Yes.
like, this is a car dealership?
Yeah.
Really?
Well,
We should-
oddly enough, we are going to be covering the Hose event that he's doing there. Hodao. They're doing a Mercedes Cars and Coffee.
Oh, cool.
That's coming this Sunday.
This weekend, right?
Which by the time you hear this show, it'll have already passed.
You
But
said it's a hose event?
Ho is his name. Ho Dao is his name.
Sorry.
Beth,
Okay,
remember?
I'm sorry.
Remember the wagon show, Beth?
Yes.
Remember those? It was him and his wife had wagons. Mercedes.
Oh, yes,
That's Ho.
yes.
That's
Oh,
Ho.
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, Ho.
My apologies.
Yeah.
See, now she went there. She went.
Ho's putting on this event, and it's going to be massive. I think they're going to sell out of because you have to reserve your spot for the Mercedes side of it. It's open to everybody, but
Can the public just come and check it out?
Yeah, it's open to everybody, and other people you can bring other cars and stuff, but the spots are reserved for Mercedes because
Gotcha. It's a Mercedes dealership, right?
Yeah. But it should be pretty big. It was big last year, so it'll be big this year. So we'll be down there
On no sleep.
on no sleep because it'll be the day after.
Yeah,
us doing
yeah.
that.
We kind of overcommitted that weekend, didn't we?
We did, but
That's all right.
these are once in a lifetime types of opportunities. So we're at least once.
That's what happens when you become ultra famous. You just you kind of overbook yourself.
Or almost famous.
We would definitely like to do more events like this Legends of Hot Rods. I mean, this is really kind of why West of Tulsa exists, not just to do a podcast. Like the podcast is sort of our home base, but we would like to be the production company that is doing the coolest auto-centric, story-centric car programming.
Yeah.
For sure.
I'll remind him of that when he's freaking out on Saturday because
And I'm
two
going,
cables
oh my
won't
God,
fit together.
eight cameras and 12 mics, and it's gonna be
And
pretty
a partridge
crazy.
in a pear tree.
It's gonna be pretty crazy.
Yeah.
The other thing we want to talk about is we are working on a top secret project.
We are.
You want to talk about that?
Well, if we talk about it, it won't be top secret.
No, without
but-
giving up the top secret
Well,
part of it.
we'll
but
talk
we
about
can-
it in like generalities and really
Yeah,
vague,
exactly.
and then
Oh,
people will be like,
okay.
"Wow, way to be vague, guy."
Okay.
No, what we're doing is we're trying to put together a tool right now that will help people tell their story or tell a story about their car or someone's car and be able to share it and preserve it for a very long time. So we've been working on this for quite a bit actually before we even started this show, and we're hoping that we can release it. I don't know if we're going to release it this year. Maybe we'll release it this year.
Maybe.
But we're doing some beta testing right now, and hopefully I think it'll hit the mark because there's nothing like that right now. We don't see anything like that. But all we want to do is encourage people to tell their story, and we want to just give them the tools to be able to do that
And preserve
and
their
preserve
story.
it free of charge too.
Preserve
Free of charge.
the
We're
legacy,
not,
right.
we want people to do that for free because it's not us about trying to make money off of your story. It's like no, we want you to preserve your story, just like CJ wants to preserve the story of his dad or of
Or
Richard
Beth's
Keller,
grandfather, right?
Of all these cars and automobiles and motorcycles and
I've been doing
On
8
and
years
on.
of beta testing on this.
yes, you have.
Yes,
From our
Beth
dining
knows.
room table. Yes.
Alex, do you have a cool, grandfather parent car story that's kind of interesting?
Well, I was kind of pondering on that as you guys were talking, and I was just thinking about my uncle. He bought a 1969 Le Mans in 1970, so it was basically brand new to him. But he drove that car back and forth on PCH from Oxnard to the farmers market area. He did a lot of trucking and stuff like that. But I ended up seeing that car parked in back of his house in 1983, and it wasn't running, and I was young. I think I was a freshman in high school, and
You had dreams. Of,
and I was like, hey, can I buy that car? And it turned out his older son, my cousin, owned it. And he ended up selling it to me for $200.
Oh, great.
Wow, nice.
Yeah. So I drove this car through high school and, ended up, building it up, not purposely. Sometimes it just came upon with a repair and it would gain improvements. And it ended up having a 428 Pontiac race motor in it, Iskanderi racing cam. And man, that thing was fast. I don't think I ever got beat in it. And,
Wow.
and I remember one night, I raced a local Chevelle. I don't know who the owner was, but it was known for being parked at this gas station, and it was a '66 Chevelle yellow tunnel ram with the carburetor coming out of the hood. Yeah. And I raced this guy. My car didn't look like anything. And I mean, it had primer on it, and
You were the sleeper.
it was a
Sleeper.
total sleeper. And I totally expected this guy to beat me, and But I would race anybody at any time, to win or lose. It didn't matter. It was just about racing.
So did you beat him?
I did beat him.
Wow.
He could not catch me.
That's cool.
And that was a very good memory.
Did he come up to you afterward and go, "What the hell is under that hood"?
No, we kind of like just went separate
okay.
ways. He
All
took
right.
off. I think he kind of maybe was a little embarrassed.
He had
or
to
something.
lick his wounds.
Yes.
Yeah, in private.
He went back to his house to go find what he's going to do next to the car.
Yeah.
Because that's what I would have
Yeah,
done.
exactly.
Oh, you say was, though. You don't have the car anymore.
I don't have the car anymore. No,
Do you have
I
deep
wish I did.
regret in getting rid of the car?
I actually do. I do. It was at a time when I had 3 vehicles and I didn't have enough money to maintain them because I was just a young guy and
Yeah.
ended up just getting rid of it. And I actually pulled the motor out intending to use it in something else and never did and ended up getting married, turned into a different story.
The death of the car culture. Right?
but I still have a Pontiac GTO. I've had 2 GTOs, so had a Pontiac Grand Prix '67. So yeah, I've had my Pontiacs.
Ah, that's a good story.
For sure.
Anytime you can beat up on a Chevelle, right?
Yes, yes.
Or Malibu converted into a Chevelle. Wow. Any other relative stories, car stories, relatives, and
I've got
alive or past?
I've got one. It's not a specific story, but it's more of a memory. I think I may have mentioned it on a previous show, but I had really cool grandparents. They were kind of hellraisers from Oklahoma, and not coincidentally
Oh,
from Oklahoma. They were Okies, and but very cultured, kind of snobby. My grandmother, she was something else, man. She hung with Errol Flynn in Hollywood in the 50s, and she's a very interesting lady. But
she
anyway,
knew the meaning of cacophony.
she did. Oh, she definitely did. She was a Southern lady, but kind of a hellraiser. And I have a memory of being pretty young, and they lived in Redondo Beach. And going down there, you got to see Grandma and Grandpa's new car. Although I had nicknames for them, so Mam and Giggy were their nicknames. But anyway, you got to see their new cars, and they got a pair of Corvettes.
Oh, wow.
And one was a silver 65 with the 427, and one was the red. My grandmother's, of course, the red and white convertible 66.
But they were gorgeous.
So it was red with like the white leather interior, or maybe it was pleather. I don't know. But I remember being with my grandfather, going down PCH, and I'd never been in a fast car. And he goes, you want, should I open it up? And I'm like, yeah. And he, floored it at a light with that 427. It pinned me back in the seat. And I just remember like going, oh my God, this
And
is.
those 427s are loud.
Yeah, it was loud. And I
Yeah.
just remember being pinned back in the seat. And the seats in that year were almost like buckets. I mean, it literally would put you back, and you had to like fight to sit up from it. And it had a
some
4-speed
Gs.
manual,
The
I
G-forces,
remember,
yeah.
and it had like a silver shifter, like a silver ball shifter with like a release.
Yeah.
So I remember just, like
that's so
watching his
cool.
hand like
Yes.
slam it,
Yes.
foot from my head,
Oh,
and just like
man.
wow. So. Unfortunately,
That's
the gene didn't take. I wasn't a car guy, but
But that's a great memory. And
is.
you're reminding me, and we're kind of bookending a little bit with a story about your dad, who
Yeah.
again passed away last week.
yeah.
And I remember we were going to pick up the girls when they were in preschool or elementary school. And it was when we had your Acura, and which was a stick. It was fun to drive. And your dad was so excited to drive that. And he drove it like that, slamming it into all these gears. I'm like, and I kept flying back into the seat. I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, that's how you're supposed to drive this car. I'm like, pretty sure you're not supposed to drive it like that.
He did the same with the 911 with Natalie. He drove Natalie, our youngest daughter, to volleyball somewhere. And he says,
high
hey, can I
school?
in high school, can I take the 911? I said, sure. And Natalie's like, the whole way he was like racing everybody down
Oh,
the freeway.
geez.
So
Your 911 surved. It
the
survived.
911
Survived your
it,
dad.
yeah.
I don't know if I would let my dad drive any of my cars because he would do that too. And I was like, I don't want you grinding my gears. And all my cars are super low to the ground. So I don't know if.
But you know what? It brought him such joy.
Oh,
I'll
yeah.
just say that.
But
He
your dad
loved
was a helicopter pilot, wasn't he?
Yeah, but helicopters, they don't.
But Gabe, he grinds your gears anyway. Yeah, that's a whole other
That's
story,
for sure.
right?
But I did get the car buzz from him because when I was a kid, he had a 240Z.
Yeah.
Badass
Oh, yeah.
240Z. And he had a Scirocco, which I thought was
Oh,
the coolest
really?
thing. Yeah.
Wow.
I thought this was like super fast.
Like an 80s?
Yeah, like a brown Scirocco. I thought it was the coolest thing ever.
Scirocco's were cool.
Yeah, I still think they're cool.
Did it have the
Yeah.
Recaro seats when it said Recaro?
No, I don't think so. But it was cool. I thought it was loud, but his Z was my favorite. I
Yeah.
always loved the Z.
What
So,
year Z did he have?
72. Yeah,
Ah,
70.
good year.
No, I think it was a 73 or 74 because he ordered it when he was on deployment, and then when he got back, it was waiting for him.
Right.
And he had it up until I don't know. Me and my brother were little, but
what year the Z came out in? What, 70? Was it 70 when they introduced?
I want to say it was 69, but once again, I don't quote me.
69 is a GT 2000, isn't it?
Well, they had about more than just
Did they overlap?
I don't know.
Was the Z around when the?
We should ask Jeff Willer.
I was about to say the Z Club.
Yeah.
He's probably listening. He's going, "You idiots! Don't know what the hell you're talking about."
What you're talking.
Yeah.
So,
By the way, I have a message from my Uncle Eddie in Vero Beach, Florida.
Uncle Eddie.
Yeah, remember?
Uncle Eddie?
Remember Uncle Eddie?
Is the message shitters full?
Yeah.
Yeah.
From vacation, right?
He goes, one, he listened to the show.
Yeah.
He does not have a Winnebago. And two, he does not have a leisure suit.
Oh, man.
That's what he wanted me to pass on to you guys.
Okay, noted. Duly noted.
So he doesn't have a shitter, and it's not
No,
full.
no,
Okay,
no.
got
And
it.
he did
noted.
send me a photo of him with hair and his 1963 Corvette.
All right. He's a cool guy.
So we'll
He's cool.
put that up there. I promised him we'd put it up.
Anyone who owned a 60s Corvette is cool in my book.
Yeah.
Like, there's not a lot of a-holes that have a 60s Corvette,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
70s, yes. I had a boss who had like a 72, the fiberglass long, the cliche one with all the checking and the fiberglass and stuff. And he was kind of a jerk. But 60s Corvette, I think, is sort of a, not that many jerks have 60s Corvettes, right?
Yeah.
Hopefully, Uncle Eddie watches the entire show because you're at the end of it now. Okay,
He says,
good.
he said, he goes,
Awesome.
I've watched every show or listened.
Oh, thank you, Uncle Eddie. I
Thank you,
appreciate
Uncle
that.
Eddie. He doesn't
Yeah.
have a plate in his head, does he?
No
No,
plate.
he does
Okay,
not.
good.
No, I can answer that question. I know
Okay.
he doesn't have a plate. But
Well, then he's definitely not from vacation. So
no,
we know.
no, it's
Okay.
not him.
Thank
But he
you
was
for-
laughing when he was telling me. He's like, no, I'm not that guy.
Thank
So
you for
please pass
clarifying,
it on
Uncle
to
Eddie.
your
We
team
appreciate that.
Yeah. Now, living a quiet life with his, I forget which car he bought, but he said he had a really cool car, low mileage. But he just wanted to say hi to you guys that he does watch all the shows.
We
Hi,
appreciate it, Uncle
Yeah,
Eddie.
We do it. Big love to you.
I can
right.
I can tell the people who watch the shows in entire, especially Bernie Herrera, because he's always commenting on how we don't know what we're talking about, which is great.
Because we don't.
We don't.
Because Helm and I paid him a visit, to a couple weeks ago, and he was like, "Man, sometimes I just want to call in and yell at you guys, like, because you guys don't know what the hell you're talking about." I'm like, "I know we don't know what we're talking about."
At least we admit it.
He should come on our show.
We want him. I want him to. He's just like schedule wise, so he wants to come on the show because when we went down to meet with him, he was telling us about all kinds of stuff that wasn't even just about the rotaries and seven stocks, just all the stuff that he was involved with, and VWs, and he just knows so many people, and he's very tight with Mazda, and he's got tons of stories to share. So we'll get him in here, but. It's cool because, him and like my cousin and my buddy Greg and a couple other people that message us and comment us, that they're chiming in and listening because they're commenting about something that we've talked about that's way buried deep
in
into
the show.
Yeah,
Right.
so
Yeah.
so
That's good.
we may not have a ton of it, but the ones that you do that I've listened in its entirety, we appreciate it because
Yes, we do.
we work really hard at this. We're really trying to do this to really share a lot of stories and to just get awareness to people sharing their stories about their cars and their loved ones. So it means a lot to us when we hear these kinds of things. It helps us keep going.
That's right.
You know,
Absolutely.
And we know that
Yep.
people don't watch the show. They only watch the first 5 minutes and then listen to it on YouTube. So we know that. That's okay. All this lighting, cameras.
Although I will say this, one of CJ's buddies came up to me at Cars and Coffee and said, he was like, "I really like the show. The show looks really good. Looks like really professional, really well done." I was like, "Well, cool. I would hope so. We spent a lot of time and money to make this thing look good, even though people are only listening. But that's okay, though. I mean, at some point, there'll be crossover and people will watch. I mean, people do watch. I'm not saying that no one watches, but most of our people are listening to the show versus...
Well, it is a podcast.
Well, and our numbers are going up.
Yeah.
Taking time. But
Heck, we've only been doing this
we
for
knew that'd
6
be the
months,
case.
so, I mean,
exactly.
Didn't we just reach 1,100 on IG?
Yeah, we did.
Yeah,
1,100
That's-
followers on Instagram.
that's respectable.
Non-boosted. We didn't pay for any of that
Nope.
stuff. So you guys are our OGs.
We love it.
Yeah.
We love it.
So, but yeah, we're growing. It's
All
good.
right. Good to have you back, Beth.
It's so nice to be back. Thanks, you guys, for welcoming me.
Thanks
You're
for
always
thanks for
welcome.
being on the
Keeping
show,
my
Beth.
chair
We
open for me.
we want you back all the time, but
thank
hopefully that can happen.
I hope so too.
And we got to figure this out because we have to. If if Helm doesn't join us, look, if you two don't show up at the same time, we're going to think you're the same person.
I know.
We are
like
very
trying to
similar.
mess with
Yes,
us or
I can see
something?
why we would
Yeah.
be confused for each other. Yes.
They're scheming against us. I know
Yeah,
it.
exactly.
Yeah.
I know
Maybe
it.
they're doing their own podcast.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Talking about secrets, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else? We covered everything. All the top secret
Hour,
stuff.
hour and 14.
Yeah.
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 All right. And yeah, look forward to the big Saturday night shindig we got
Yes,
coming.
yes.
That'll be after the. Is that going to be after the show?
Yeah.
Some version of it, or do we know yet? We probably don't know the scheduling yet of when
We
that's
don't
going to
know.
air.
No, because we're gonna spend a lot of time in post on that one, so that might be
Okay.
a little while
All
before
right.
we release
Okay.
the Central Coast Racing.
Okay, so never mind that. Just ignore what I just said.
But by the time you listen to this or watch this show, we will have already shot the Central Coast Racing show that we're doing, the special that we're doing.
Legends of Hot Rod.
Legends of
Yeah.
Hot Rods, yeah. So, but we will post on Instagram some short reels and updates as we go along here. But the finished piece might not be for a few more weeks.
All right.
So,
All
Fair
right.
enough.
Alex, thanks for coming in.
Yeah, no
again,
problem.
As
Love it.
always. It's always great to hear your stories.
Good.
Dan,
Yep.
thanks for. Well, you didn't really switch. You just talked
I
a lot
just
today.
blabbed, you know.
Yeah, that's good.
I did hit record though on a bunch of different devices, and I did set up the shot, so I'm good for
he
something.
engineered enough
Yeah,
today.
that's it.
I did some engineering, just not switching.
All right. We do have a tip line, although the name may change at some point.
Yes.
So if you have a better name for it,
Go to the tip line.
Go to the tip line, let
replace
us
the name
know.
Tip line. Right.
all right, don't forget to like, follow, subscribe. We have our YouTube.
Channel.
Thank you. And we will see you west of Tulsa.